Hi, so we're going to go over activity 4.5, solving linear inequalities when the x term is negative. We are looking to see which of these numbers would satisfy the inequality. So the opposite of 0, 0 greater than 1, no. 1, the opposite of 1, so that would be negative 1 is greater than 1, no. Negative 2 greater than 1, no. Negative 3 greater than 1, no. Negative 4 greater than 1, no. So we're going to say none of these. Which of these satisfies this inequality? The opposite of x is less than negative 2. So the opposite of 0, which would be 0, is less than negative 2. No. 1. The opposite of 1, negative 1, is less than negative 2. No. 2. The opposite of 2, so negative 2, is less than negative 2. No. 3. The opposite of 3 is less than negative 2. Yes. So negative 3. 4. The opposite of 4 is less than negative 2. Yes. Okay. Opposite of 0. So 0 is greater than negative 3. Yes. Negative 1 greater than negative 3. Yes. Negative 2 greater than negative 3. Yes. Negative 3 greater than negative 3. No. Negative 4 greater than negative 3. No. Okay, then this one just has an example of how we would do this on the mat. So I want to point out at a certain point, everything becomes, we end up with x and then the variable. So let's just go ahead and get started here. We're going to use our inequalities mat again to work these out. And I have my inequality symbols that I can flip over. So the first problem is what? The opposite of x greater than 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I'm going to find out what x is, I would need to flip all of this, including the inequality symbol. So x less than positive 4. I'm going to write that down, switch to a pen. X less than 4. All right. The next one says the opposite of x plus 3, okay, is less than 2. So I've got this built. There's a couple different ways I could go about it, but since I have 2 positives on each side, I'm just going to go ahead and remove those. Now, in order to isolate my variable, my x, I'm going to need to remove this. So to do that, I would need to add 1 negative. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And the reason I need to add this negative is so I have a 0 pair that I can then remove. So the opposite of x is less than negative 1. But I want x, so I reverse everything. X greater than 1. I'm going to write that on my paper. X greater than 1. Set the next one up. 2 negatives. I'm doing this one. Negative x, the opposite of x, plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dropped 1. Okay. So I've got this set up. I don't have the same thing on each side that I can remove. So instead, I'm going to have to zero these out. The way I'll do that is adding the same number of negatives as I have positives. So I'm going to put 4 negatives on this side, which means I also have to put 4 negatives on the other side. 0, 0, 0, 0. So those are all gone. All right. Now I have the opposite of x, so I need to find x instead. So I have to flip everything over, do the opposite of everything. So x greater than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Write that down. X greater than 6. So hopefully you notice that when we have a negative coefficient of x, negative x or like negative 2x, what you end up doing is reversing the inequality symbol. So hopefully that's coming out for you. All right, the next question says negative 4. And we have a less than symbol, negative x minus 5. Minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm looking at this question here. Negative 4 less than negative x minus 5. Okay, so I do have 4 negatives that I can remove from each side. Now, at this point, it's blank here, but don't worry about that because as we're working it out, we're going to remedy that. So here I have 1 negative. So to turn that into 0, to isolate the variable, I would add 1 positive. This zeroes out. So I have a negative x, or the opposite of x. So I need to do the opposite of everything. And we'll just write it the way it is. Negative 1 is greater than x. Negative 1 is greater than x. And we looked at before that if we want to put the variable first, just kind of turn it around. So, I don't know if I can fit that. Maybe I can. X less than negative 1. So, these are the same answer. It's just whether the number's first or the variable's first. And we actually prefer the variable to be first. All right. So, let's clear our mat. And the next problem, negative 2x's. Okay, negative 1, negative 2, plus 3. 1, 2, 3, less than that, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I have 3 positives I can remove from each side. Done that. Oh. So separate these into 2 stacks. Okay, but this is the opposite of x. Okay, let's just go ahead and focus on 1x because that's what I'm looking for. So I need to reverse everything, flip it over. Okay, so x is greater than negative 1. X greater than negative 1. Next question. It's going to have a bunch of stuff. Negative 4x. 1, 2, 3, 4 negative x's. Okay, then 1. Plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then less than negative 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is a full board for sure. I don't have any positives I can remove from each side. So I'm going to have to add some negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives to each side is what I'm going to have to add. I'm going to pause this because it'll take me a second to get those gathered. So I'm going to add 5 negatives here and 5 negatives there. Go do the same thing on each side. Take away my zeros. Okay, and now I'm going to separate these or divide them into 4 piles. You can see there's 3 negatives in each pile. So I want to focus in on just 1x. Okay, this is negative x, so I need to do the reverse, or the opposite of that. So x is greater than 3. X greater than 3. I'm going to set the next one up. Again, I have a full board, negative 3 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 4, greater than 2, 4, 6, 8, negative 10 negatives. So I do have these negatives on each side I can remove. Do that. All right, I've got 3 x's over here, 3 negative x's. So separate these into 3 stacks. They were kind of already done. And I'm going to focus in on just the 1. Since that's the opposite of x, I'm going to reverse it. So x is less than 2. X less than 2. Now the next one, to set this up, I'm actually going to pause it and then come back. Okay, I need 13 negatives on this side. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative x's. And 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's do that again. 2, 4, 6, 8 negatives. Okay, so I have it set up. And I do have some negatives on each side that I can remove. Notice how I'm taking one away from each side at the same time. That will help me not to make mistakes there. Okay, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's remaining, opposite of x. So I'm going to kind of separate these, divide these into equal piles. Okay, and then I'm going to focus in on just one of the x's. Okay, and this is the opposite of x, so let's do the opposite of all that. And 1 is greater than x. So 1 greater than x, or x less than 1. If I change it so the x is at the beginning on the left side. Okay, there we go. Let's clear that off. Another huge one, so I'm going to pause it and I'll be back. Okay, so we need negative 19 or 19 negatives. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. And then we need 6 negative x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 5 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then our inequality sign. Good. So at this point, I don't have anything I can remove from each side. So to zero these out, I'm going to need to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives to each side. 5 negatives here, 5 negatives here. Remove all my zeros. Separate these out or divide them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 piles. I'm going to pause it while I do that. I'm running out of time. I just sorted these out until they were in 6 equal piles. Each pile has 4 negatives. So at this point, I'm just going to focus in on this. So I need to do the reverse of everything. And 4 is greater than x. Or, turn it around, x is less than 4. 4 is greater than x, or x is less than 4. So now we have 2 inequalities, and then let's just kind of work through these real quick. We have negative x, 5 negatives, and this is greater than. So we have this, and it wants to see how that relates to x is less than 5. So watch what happens. If I reverse all of this, I actually get the other one they were asking me about. So these are the same. Now, let's look at the other one and see if that happens again. I'm going to pause it and set it up. Okay, I've got this one set up, opposite of x plus 3, less than opposite of 2. So there's not anything I can remove from each side, which means I'm going to have to zero out. So I'm going to put these 3 negatives on each side. Then I'm going to remove the 0 pairs. And I'm going to do the opposite of all this. So that gives me x is greater than 5. And I've already got the other one set up underneath it. Well, the inequality sign. Okay, so here's x minus 3 greater than 2. So I can't remove the same thing from each side. I'm going to need to zero out these. So x greater than 5, which is what I ended up with. So these are also the same. And then you can do this explanation on your own.